Okay, so today we are talking about deal structure, and we're talking about it in the context of funding. How are we going and raising money from people, working with investors? And we're building on this, really training on this and getting to the place where, okay, we want to make an offer. We want to say, hey, invest in our deal, but we need to have some context for it. We need to have like, well, here's what I would offer you, right? I have maybe offer A, B, and C as, here's my best case, here's my worst case. I know what numbers I need to raise, and how do we go about and figuring out, well, what should I offer, right? So that's really the conversation for today. What should we offer and how should we know that? And so this will kind of build, and we'll say, okay, now we know what we want to offer. We have perhaps a best case scenario and a worst case scenario and everything in between, right? Perhaps ABC offer. And we're going to go and then, hey, what is next is let's talk about the presentation. Let's talk about how we're actually going to say all these things. So we're building to that. Here's where we're at here. We're talking about deal creation, and we're going to come back and talk about the actual presentation on it. So I kind of actually skipped that, but I think it made more sense to go in this order here. So this is what we're going to talk about today, right? How to prep for this, how to do some homework to say, well, here's what I would want to offer, my potential investors, so that I can have all of this information ready. I can have all the numbers ready. I can have all the ROI ready. And I can say, okay, when we're going to go sit down and talk through this, hey, here is what it is. I have my ammo ready to go to be able to fire if they are interested. So I'm going to present everything, this conversation, in the context of doing an SBA 7A. And you can structure these type of deals. You can structure it a number of different ways, right? We're talking about debt. We're talking about equity. The context here is everything related to equity. And I'm going to say it this way because I think this is the best way to go about and do this style of deal and raising money for this from the lending side and the bank side, from the investor side and the bank side. But it's not the only way to go. But I think this is the path of least resistance. So we'll talk about it in this context today. If you were going to go, like me, use one of our preferred lenders, do an SBA 7A loan, they're going to lend on the real estate, on the business, have all the working capital, have the interest reserve, have all of that kind of stuff, that you could plug this in to a model here, right? You literally start here. So here's our initial steps. You're going to start by using that template for the performa. Build out your financial model. You should know what it costs. Some of these important numbers to figure out on the front side, right? What is our land cost? What is our cost for construction? And it is okay that it starts a little bit loose on the front side, right? You start a little loose and you'll continue to dial these things in. But you need to create this whole model, push it forward, and then really get to this point here. The second question is, how much money do I need to raise? You should know, okay, well, if the bank's going to lend me 15% and we have all of these boxes here all filled out based on what our lender's criteria is, okay, it gets me to one end number of here's how much I need for a down payment. And again, you should be having a conversation as you're getting from kind of rough draft numbers into kind of getting more serious with this, conversations with some of our preferred lenders to say, okay, well, here is what I'm building out. How is this looking for you as the bank, right? Are you in line with this? Do I need to make any adjustments for this? Because ultimately you want to get to that, here's the number I need, right? Is it 300 grand? Is it 400 grand? Is it 500 grand? Is it $1 million? We need to talk about what that number is, identify that, and we'll talk the rest of the call here about how we are structuring this deal to raise whatever that number is. So the other thing to consider on the front side is skin in the game, right? It's how much money are you going to put into the deal? Now, you technically could put $0 into the deal, or you could put all of the money into the deal and not have to bring on an investor partner. But the point of this lesson is how to raise money from investors. So assuming there that you want to raise some money, right? I would say this, that skin in the game is important. It is not necessary, but it is important. And what I mean by that is if you are the potential investor, right? Fast forward 10 years, you've sold your business, you have millions of dollars sitting in the bank account, and you need something to do with it. And somebody presented you an opportunity to invest in their new business. You would want them, I would assume, that's the way I feel, you would want them to have some type of financial skin in the game also, right? That they're not just gonna to walk away from the deal if things get hard. I'm gonna assume that your investors that you're gonna be talking to will feel very similar to that point. They're gonna want you to have some skin in the game. They may not, right? You may be okay with $0 in on that side and you raise all the money that we're gonna talk about, but just maybe consider that, right? Is that $50,000? Is it $20,000? Is it $100,000? If you have that capital, I think it is better to put some money into the deal yourself. But just keep a balance of, being able to support your family during that time if you have to stop working, or that first few months, 3-6 months while you are stabilizing your business, that you can take care of your family during that time. And then you also have capital saved aside for a worst case scenario, for, oh shit factors, whatever it is, right? Like COVID happened during construction. It was not something we anticipated. It totally changed everything. And, you just have to react to some of these things. So if you have that money, whatever that looks like for you to cover you for 3-6 months or something to that effect, that you have that saved as well, kind of set aside personally. But if you have that plus some, that's when I think, hey, you know what? Can I put 50 grand into this deal? Can I put 100 grand into it? Can I put 25 grand into it? I think you will have a better response from investors when you say, hey, here's what the money that I need, and I'm putting in this much, and the bank's covering this much. Here's the difference that we need to raise here. So that's skin in the game.